2019, Amsterdam's first female mayor stepped into the fray, Femke Halsema. She presented 4 bold scenarios hoping to save the red light district's future and change the image of Amsterdam's Sin City. She sparked both hope and controversy. Some see it as a chance to reclaim their neighborhood, and some way the red light district soul may vanish forever. But how did we get here? And how did a district that once thrived become the center of such heated debate? To understand, we need to go back to the beginning of Amsterdam itself. So back to the 1200s, when Amsterdam was a little more than a collection of wooden houses flanking a single canal. And even then, the city thrived on trade, and with trade came sailors, and with sailors came prostitution. At the harbor at what is now Amsterdam's central station became the gateway for sailors seeking entertainment. And by the 1400s, sex trade was not just tolerated, but it was part of what made Amsterdam. But the story of the Wallen did not follow a straight path. The city has always grappled with how to handle prostitution. During the 16th century, Amsterdam's shift to Protestantism brought attempts to crack down on the trade, and officially prostitution was banned. But in reality, the authorities turned a blind eye, and the red light district thrived, growing in size and reputation. Fast forward to the 17th century, Amsterdam's golden age. Wealth flowed into the city, and so did people from around the world. Prostitution flourished and attracted not just sailors, but also the city's burgeoning bourgeoisie. And during this period, a larger luxurious furnished brothels emerged, marked by their red lanterns. The 19th century saw the birth of the red light district as we know it, and the Wallen took shape amidst the streets of Amsterdam, mingling with residential spaces. And what had been public and semi-public spaces were extended, and many sex workers operated on the ground floor of their homes. And their spaces were like living rooms, where clients came not just for sex, but for a sense of warmth and community. And it was a daily life affair intertwined with the fabric of the city. And the streets were still the main spaces for activities, and the living spaces of inhabitants were not so much affected. But the modern world had other plans. Public transport expanded, globalization boomed, and by the 21st century, the Wallen became an international tourist hotspot, and nearly 20,000 visitors now pour into the small neighborhood each day during peak season. This influx brought problems. Gentrification invaded private spaces, tourists overcrowded the street, and pollution took its toll. And as second and third floor residences emptied out, the district's future became a topic of heated debate. By the 2000s, the Dutch government took a bold step. They legalized prostitution, hoping to better regulate the industry. And 7 years later, they launched Project 1012, hoping to reduce crime and change the image of Amsterdam's Sin City. They shut down more than 100 brothels and coffee shops, but the impact was minimal, and the Wallen's reputation as an adult playground remained strong. Then in 2019, the first female mayor, Femke Halsema, stepped into the fray. She presented 4 bold scenarios for the Wallen's future, sparking both hope and controversy. Scenario 1, at the digitized red light district. So imagine this. The windows remain open, but the curtains stay closed. And in Halsema's first scenarios, sex workers would rely on digital means to find clients. It's a subtle but radical change, hoping to bring the trade into the digital age. Scenario 2, the great relocation. Now picture the most drastic change, closing all the rooms in the Wallen and moving them somewhere else. This scenario would relocate the secretariat to other parts of Amsterdam, shifting the district energy completely. But is this realistic? Scenario 3, partial movement. The third option, and the one deemed the most realistic by the city government, who proposes moving only a portion of the Wallen's rooms. Yet there is no clarity on how large that portion would be, a compromise or just a half measure. Scenario 4, the Erotic Center. And finally, the most controversial of all, creating a centralized and upscale erotic center on the outskirts of the city. So halsema envisions a blend of sophistication and sensuality, a place with not just rooms, but galleries for art, debate centers, and painting courses, a brothel with class, she calls it. The city has even hired the Dutch architecture studio to bring this vision to life. So inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright's Guggenheim, the design features a circular layout with a continuous walkway, recreating a labyrinthine streets of the Wallen, but in a modern, controlled environment. Two potential locations have been shortlisted, the Zuidas in the south and the NDSM in the north, and each has its strengths and weaknesses. Zuidas provides a lot of space and is far from the city's busiest center, creating an opportunity for a quieter and more controlled environment. Meanwhile, the NDSM in the north has the cool industrial vibe, and it's a creative hotspot already, and it could add a unique character to this kind of project. But accessibility is the major problem. The north of Amsterdam relies on a ferry from the city center, which could struggle with a big increase in visitors, and Zuidas is further from the city center, meaning more planning would be needed to make it easy to reach. But as with any change, not everyone is on board. Both locations have vocal opponents. Local residents are concerned about noise, crime, and the impact on children. And even some sex workers are wary. Would this new center really be safer than the bustling familiar streets of the Wallen? The city government says that a centralized building would offer more security, with oversight over who enters and exits. Yet, the question remains, is this enough to allay fears? The battle for the Wallen's future is not about space, it's about values, and it's about what kind of city Amsterdam wants to be. And as history has shown us times and times again, this struggle is far from over.